Since I was 14, I paid for every Christmas. This year, my parents' golden child mocked me. Then they slammed the door in my face and left a six-figure debt in my name. 2 days later, my lawyer gave them a Christmas gift they'll never forget. Hey everyone! Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. So I have been footing the bill for Christmas since I was 14. It all started when Dad lost his job, and Mom told me, "We're cutting back this year, honey. You get it, right?" Of course I did. So I dipped into my after-school savings, and that's how it all began. It was this unspoken rule, a weird contract that nobody actually wrote down, but everyone knew about. Each year, I ended up covering more ground. The gifts, the decorations, Mom's catering when she didn't want to cook, hotel rooms for visiting family, and somehow the credit cards ended up in my name too. It was like, don't worry, Big Brother will sort it out. So I did. This year was supposed to be no different until I got a text from my sister Rachel. It said, "Guess what, Big Bro? You pay, I belong." That was it. No Merry Christmas, not even a single emoji. Just that. I stared at my screen for what felt like forever. I wasn't immediately angry. It was more like this empty, cold feeling. You see, Rachel, the 25-year-old baby of the family who's never held a full-time job, who still lives at home without paying rent, once called me boring for budgeting. And here she was, basically treating me like the family accountant. I didn't reply, didn't call, but I still showed up on Christmas Eve. The driveway was packed when I got there. My parents, Rachel, her boyfriend, even Aunt Susan, who hadn't been around in years. The house looked cozy and warm through the frosted windows, laughter spilling out. I brought just one box this time. No bags of gifts like usual, just one small box. Mom opened the door with this smug look. "Oh, you actually came," she said, sounding all sweet but with a sharp edge. "Well, here's your special gift," she added, practically shoving the box at me before slamming the door shut. I was left standing there, breath misting in the cold. Inside the box was an envelope filled with legal papers, credit card debts, all under my name, totaling 6 figures. I whispered to the night, "Merry Christmas." As I stood there, something inside me broke. Not anger or shock, just something cold. But honestly, this didn't start tonight. It all began years ago. The first time I chipped in for some extra groceries because Dad got laid off one winter, Mom called it pitching in. She smiled as I handed over my part-time paycheck, and I felt proud, useful even. It seemed so minor, so harmless. But every year, I ended up covering a bit more. By the time I was 17, I was buying the tree and half the gifts. By 19, I had to shell out for Rachel's first college deposit because she forgot about scholarships. By 22, I was co-signing for credit cards, supposedly to help Rachel build credit. And when Dad's second business failed, I was there to hold the fort again. I kept telling myself this was what families did. But in reality, they weren't just asking for help. They built this whole system where I was the go-to guy to fix things. While I juggled 2 jobs in college, Rachel switched majors 3 times and posted beach selfies with #selfcare-matters. When she moved back home at 25, it was like no big deal. Mom called her our baby, like she was still a teenager. Dad said she was finding herself. Meanwhile, I was working, paying bills, and picking up pieces they left behind. If the car broke down, I fixed it. If Dad's insurance lapsed, I covered the hospital bills. And when Rachel overdrafted again, she called me. They never really thanked me. Instead, they just expected it. 2 months ago, it hit the fan. Rachel called late one night around 11:42 p.m. asking for another favor. Her car loan got denied, and she needed me to co-sign. "I'll handle the payments, I swear," she said. "You're good for it, right? Dad says it's no big deal." And like an idiot, I signed. She got a $48,000 SUV with zero down, and then flooded social media, showing it off with captions like, "Manifestation works when you've got the right people around you." Yup, she meant me. 3 weeks ago, Dad hit me up. "Son, listen, we're applying for a consolidation loan, just for a short period. We need you on the paperwork for better rates. Trust me, it's temporary." My gut twisted, but I just said, "All right," because that's just who I was to them. Always reliable, always there. But I wasn't ready for what came next. So, last week I got this big, official-looking envelope in the mail. It was certified, so I had to sign for it. Inside, there were all these papers that basically said I suddenly had over $136,000 in debt. We're talking credit card balances, loans, lines of credit, everything dumped on me. And the kicker? All the signatures were faked. This wasn't just some mix-up. Nope, this was a full-on operation. Somebody had been busy for months, maybe longer, stacking up debts and opening accounts in my name like it was some sort of twisted game. And they didn't even try to hide it anymore. Then 2 days before Christmas, my sister Rachel sends me a text. "Guess what, big bro? You pay." Just like that, no shame. Meanwhile, outside, the world is all decked out in holiday cheer, people shopping, kids having fun, carolers singing. And here I am, getting this gift of 6 figures in debt from my own family. Perfect holiday, right? I didn't text back. I didn't go over with a bunch of gifts like usual, but I did decide to drop by. So, on Christmas Eve, I drove over. From across the street, I saw the place lit up like a holiday magazine spread. There were all their cars, including that shiny SUV Rachel probably bought with my credit. Everyone was inside having a blast. They didn't know I was coming. I only had one small box with me, not the usual haul of presents. When I rang the doorbell, Mom answered pretty quickly. She was all dressed up in this fancy blouse, glass of wine in hand, looking unsure whether to be annoyed or surprised to see me. Rachel popped up with this smug look on her face, like she was proud of whatever they'd pulled off. Mom handed me this box and said, "Here's your special gift, honey," and then just shut the door on me. I stood outside, staring at it for a moment before opening it. Inside, surprise, surprise, was another envelope with the same debt documents I'd seen earlier, but now they'd wrapped them up with a red ribbon. Like that made it any better. Merry freaking Christmas, right? I sat in my car for a while, looking at the papers, looking at their house, the same house I helped save from foreclosure once. I remembered all those times I skipped things so Rachel could get what she wanted. And now they'd locked me out. And instead of feeling angry or heartbroken, I just felt still. On Christmas morning, my phone buzzed. My credit monitoring app flagged a new alert. Another $50,000 loan application in my name. Fantastic. They weren't even done. Still trying to milk everything they could because they never thought I'd actually stop them. Then came the flood of phone calls. Dad tries to brush it off, saying they were just consolidating debts or whatever, and he was going to tell me after the holidays. Mom chimes in with her usual "don't be dramatic" spiel. And Rachel? She plays it off like it's no big deal, 'cause apparently handling messes is my role. But the thing that really got to me happened a couple of days later. An old friend, Jason, texted me a screenshot from Rachel's Instagram. She was posing in front of this new house, bragging about me like I was some kind of hero for buying it. The comments were all about what a great brother I was. No one knew it was all a sham. They didn't see the sacrifices, the financial disasters, none of it. just the pretty picture she painted. And that's when the numbness broke. But instead of flipping out, I calmly opened up a black folder I'd been keeping around, full of evidence from my own little investigation. It was time to finally do something about it. I had everything I needed to bring their little empire crashing down. Every shady deal, every fake signature, and all those sneaky accounts opened without my knowledge. So, I grabbed my phone and rang up Mark, my lawyer. He picked up after 2 rings, and I didn't even hesitate when he asked, "Is it time?" "Yep, start everything," I replied. They thought they had me trapped, but they didn't know I'd been gearing up for this showdown for years. I let them think I'd keep showing up, but now the jig was up. Everything unraveled quicker than I thought. Just 48 hours after Mark filed the papers, boom, the first wave hit. Bank accounts frozen, credit lines cut off, and fraud investigations launched on every dodgy signature. Honestly, I didn't have to do much. The system kinda took care of it all. There I was, chilling in my apartment with a cup of coffee, while my phone buzzed non-stop with missed calls, voicemails, and frantic texts. Mom called first thing at 7:13 a.m. in full-on damage control mode. "Honey, it's just a misunderstanding. We just need you to talk to the bank for us. Please, do it for the family." Then at 7:19 a.m., Dad texted, trying to guilt-trip me. "Son, you don't want to do this. You'll ruin us." Rachel followed up with an angry message at 7:28 a.m. "Are you serious? You always handle this stuff. Now you're blowing everything up for no reason." I ignored them all, let the messages pile up, and let them stew in their own panic. By lunchtime, they'd switched strategies. Mom texted again. "You've always been the strong one. You've held us together. Don't throw that away." Dad's next message was colder. "You're making a serious mistake." And Rachel, still steaming, wrote, "You're being selfish. Do you even care about us? About me?" That's when it hit me. Even now, as their world crumbled, they still saw me as their safety net. Like I was just a tool for bailing them out whenever they got in over their heads. By that evening, the second wave struck. Mark forwarded me an urgent letter from their lawyer begging for negotiation to dodge criminal charges. They were ready to hand over assets and clear debts to settle things. Translation: they were desperate. But I wasn't in this for a settlement. I was after freedom. At 8:42 p.m., the doorbell rang. I let it ring a few times before answering. It was Rachel, looking like a mess, her usual confidence gone. "Please," she said quietly, "can we talk? Just you and me." I didn't budge. "You've made your point. You're right. We needed help, and you always came through." Her voice cracked. "Dad's panicking. Mom's sick over this. We could lose everything. I could lose everything." I remained silent, her eyes darting around, looking for some sign of compassion. "I'll fix it. We'll put everything back under your control. Just stop this." She said it like she was offering me a gift. Control. That same old bait they always used. But I wasn't here to renegotiate my own captivity. "No," I said softly. She looked like she'd been slapped. "You're serious?" I didn't flinch. "It's done, Rachel." An hour later, the third wave hit. Their social scene started to crumble. Instagram posts vanished. Comment threads blew up with people gossiping about family betrayal. Dad's business partner pulled out. Mom got dropped from her charity gig, and Rachel's online image took a hit as followers started bailing. Their perfect family facade was cracking wide open. And the loudest silence? The family group chat. The one usually buzzing with fake holiday plans and relentless Venmo requests was dead quiet. No more guilt trips, no Merry Christmas texts, nothing. For the first time in ages, I could just breathe. I made myself dinner, enjoyed it in peace, sipped my coffee while it was still hot. It wasn't a victory, just calm. They thought I'd never stand up for myself. They thought I'd never fight back. They thought I'd stay silent. Now, they know. The fallout didn't end with the frozen accounts. It kept seeping into every part of their lives. 2 weeks later, a certified letter arrived. Foreclosure proceedings on 481 Crestline Drive, their house. The same house I'd helped save countless times. The one place they used to shut me out during the holidays. Now it was slipping away from them. The calls kept coming. Dad tried a new angle. "Son, don't let pride tear this family apart. We can fix this. Together." Together. That word tasted bitter. Together when they forged my name. Together when they buried me under a mountain of debt. So, this whole mess started with my so-called family trying to use me to prop up their image online, making it look like I was all in on supporting them. Truth is, it was just me constantly helping them out, not some mutual thing. Mom chimed in a bit later with the usual guilt trip, acting like everyone else was suffering just because I wasn't playing ball anymore. Rachel? She was a wreck, barely eating. But, it was all the same old manipulation, like they were reading from a script. Mom's voice was all shaky, like she was gonna cry. But honestly, I didn't hear real sadness. Just fear. The kind where you're worried about losing your backup plan when things finally catch up to you. They were basically hanging on by a thread, and I guess they were depending on me more than I realized. It was the first time Mom actually said something that felt true. Rachel tried one last tactic, sending me this long, dramatic letter. It was full of emotion, but it boiled down to fear. We were all scared, clueless about how to get out of this mess. They thought if they told me how bad it was, I'd be pissed. So they just hoped I'd step in like I always did. She wrapped it up by calling me her big brother, like that would fix everything. I read that letter twice, not because I was uncertain, but to really take in just how entitled they sounded. Rachel still thought family ties would cover up all the betrayal. Like, just because we're blood, it somehow cancels out the fact that they'd basically been robbing me blind. Spoiler, it doesn't. Then, about 3 weeks later, Mark gave me a call with some big news. The federal investigation was charging ahead, and they didn't even need my testimony. They had enough already. We're talking wire fraud, identity theft, tax evasion, the whole 9 yards. Rachel was facing some serious charges, and Dad was getting audited. Mom, too, was caught right in the middle of it all. Mark asked if I wanted to try and get back some of what they took. I didn't hesitate for a second before telling him no. Let them face the music for what they did. He got it, let out a long sigh, and that was that. A week later, it was all over the news and social media. The family that used to flaunt their perfect life featuring me was the same one plastered everywhere for a big fraud scandal. Over 200K stolen, their names and faces smeared across every channel they once used to glorify themselves. Suddenly, the same neighbors that used to chat them up were whispering behind their backs. Friends disappeared. Business partners wanted nothing to do with them, and any sponsors they had evaporated overnight. Their whole fake empire, built on the lie that I'd keep quiet, crumbled right before their eyes. And me? I finally got a good night's sleep for the first time in forever. 8 glorious hours without waking up in a panic over money, or answering 3 a.m. texts for just one more tiny favor. No more Venmo emergencies, no more guilt trips in my voicemail, no more passive-aggressive jabs disguised as holiday greetings. Just pure, blissful silence. Months later, I got one more message from a burner number. It was obviously Rachel trying to get in my head, warning that I'd end up all alone. I just laughed, let it sink in, and actually felt relief because, for once, being alone meant being free. And as I stood by my window that chilly winter night, watching snowflakes dance under the streetlights, I whispered, "Merry Christmas." This is what happens when the quiet one finally decides they've had enough and just walks away.